Hey everybody, today we're going to review these 5 18650 right angle headlights, or 90-degree headlights. I personally believe that these are the best type of headlights that you could buy, and flashlights in general. They're certainly my favorite type, and I'm going to see which one of these 5 is best worth your money. This will be the first video I do on this channel, and I will be sure to go back and do a review of each of these lights individually, but for now I'm just going to cover them against each other and see which one I like the best. Everything in this video is just my personal opinion. I do believe what I say, and I'm not actually paid by any companies to say anything in particular. I went out and bought each of these lights myself, and the first thing you'll notice is that I was able to get every light here for under $70. The hardest to find at that price was the Olight, but more on that later. If you have any suggestions for any fixes or errors I may have made in this video, or just simply disagree with something I say, please leave a comment and I'll make sure to have a discussion with you. Now, let's cover each light individually. First off, we have the Nitecore HC30, which I was able to get for $55 directly from Nitecore. Next, we have the Olight H2R Nova, and as I said, I was able to get this light under $70. I paid $65 for this light. I did buy it secondhand, and I'm very happy with the purchase. However, I do recommend you try to find one secondhand. They're about $90 retail, which I do believe is a very high number for this. But it's doable, and there's a couple on them on eBay, and they have sales for these all the time. You should be able to get one of these for about $70. Next, we have the Armytek Wizard, which I was able to get for $55, but is now available for about $44 directly from Armytek. Next, we have the Skilhunt H03, which I was able to get from GearBest with a discount code, which I'll leave in the description, for about $30, and that does include some very bad shipping. It took me about a month and a half to get this light. Last but not least, we have the Zebralight H600. This is the Mark II, which is right now on discount for $72, I believe, shipped. That's the best place you'll find this is Zebralight directly. They have this light available. So for all these lights, I did choose a lot of them in the cool white to get the cheaper version. In that case, it was these 3 lights here. The Nitecore, the Armytek, and the Zebralight are all cool white or neutral white of a very cool tint, about 5000 K, which is the cheaper option because it's not as favorable. I personally didn't mind because I just wanted to get these lights as cheap as possible to see what's best. For the point of this review, I'm going to be mainly covering and focusing on the user interface. That is, to me, the biggest, most important factor of determining which light. I'll cover output and runtime and all that stuff, but most of that stuff is available online. I'm going to generally talk about why I believe these are the best lights and which one I think is my favorite. First, let's talk about the Nitecore HC30. Again, like I said, this light I was able to get for $55. You could find them as low as $40 on sale. It's an interesting little light. The user interface is not really favorable. One of the main things is the only way to turn it off is to hold down the light. That's a big no-no for me because I'm not a big fan of that. I want to be able to immediately turn it off. Special features, you do have a strobe for double clicking. Click again, you get your SOS, and click again, you get your beacon. Overall, this light is a very small light. Right now I have 2 magnets in the back, so I'm able to tail stand this on things, but I'm just doing that for spacing. This light is very poor at working with flat top batteries. You're almost required to use protected button top batteries. I personally don't like using that. As you see, the battery I have here is an LG 3500 milliamp battery, and I did need to put 3 1.5 millimeter magnets just to get the bridge, just to bridge the distance. Overall, this was the first headlight I got, and I do like it very much, but as you'll see here, I don't like it that much. We'll compare it directly against some other lights in just a second. Next, we have the Olight H2R Nova. This light is, like I said, about $65 is what I paid, but they go for about $80 to $90 brand new. First, right off the bat, let's go ahead and talk about why this light's not so popular. It's because of this thing right here. They have this magnetic tail charging thing, which is great, super useful. You never have to open up the light to charge your battery. Problem is, you do bridge these 2 leads. It's directly connected to the battery. It started fires. They have since fixed this problem. I told Olight, please send me a replacement tail cap with a fix, and they sent me this one. It's identical, still all functions work, but in this now, we believe there is a diode put into the circuitry, so now it is preventing all shorts. When the light is on, you have, if you have your current sensor on the back of this, it will no longer show any draw, which is a good personally tested use for me. I've also done the shorting with the steel wool. Nothing's happened. This light's very good. Continuing on, so the UI is a little interesting. So you hold it down for like 2 or 3 seconds, you get it in that moonlight mode. From there, you just hold it down and it'll do its own cycle little thing. And then you double click for an insane 2300 lumen turbo. This battery is actually pretty close to dead, that's why it gave me that little blink there. But it's pretty freaking bright. And I can't really express this too well on video, but this is more than enough power you'll ever need on your head. And there's no real use to use it that high, but it's kind of nice that it has that feature if you need to light up a street for a little bit. One thing I don't like about this light is that you have to get it into lumen from off, you have to hold it down for a long time. And if you accidentally hold it too long to try to switch modes, you accidentally lock it out. It's very easy to lock out this light, which is a good and a bad thing. I'm not a big fan of having a lockout that's that easy to access, but I'll get over it. Next we have the Armytek Wizard. This is not the Pro. The Wizard Pro has a couple little features, a better UI, I believe, thermal regulation instead of a step cooldown. I'm pretty sure this does have thermal regulation too, but not 100% sure. Overall, this one's just a little bit darker too. Right off the bat, I'm going to say something about Armytek lights, and every Armytek light I've ever owned is the easiest thing on the planet to scratch and get scuff marks on. I'm not a big complainer about my flashlights like that. I do like using them and abusing them, but just for people who do want to keep a nice clean light, note that every Armytek light will immediately scratch, no matter how careful you are, especially if you put on the pocket clip. Overall, on the UI, it has a really interesting position for the button. It's on the side. It makes it very strange to hold when you're not using it as a headlight. On your head, it's actually very nice, but I'm not a big fan of the placement for this button. The UI is very simple, 1 click for on, 1 click for off. If you want to change modes from on, you just hold it down and it'll cycle through your 3 main modes over and over again until you get the brightness you want. 1 click off and it'll memorize that mode. You have 2 sub-lumen modes where to access them, you just hold down the light. It'll turn on in a 0.5 lumen or something like that, and you hold it again, you'll get a slightly brighter output mode of the same thing. But in both cases, it's a very nice, easy to use light, and it's very easy to get to all the modes. I do like the UI a lot on this. Next, we have the Skilhunt H03, very popular light because of its insanely low price. Like I said, with Gearbest, the shipping took a little over a month. It was very slow, but that's kind of what you expect when you're only paying $30 for a light that's marketed at $50 without the code. The UI on this is actually a very nice UI. It's 1 click for on and then 1 click for off. Right now it's in a lockout mode, so let me go turn that off. You just hold it down to get it into a lockout. So there's your sub-lumen mode, which is 0.5. If you ever think it's not quite the right brightness you want, each mode has an alternative mode, which is accessed by double-clicking. In this case, you just jump between the modes no matter how many times you double-click. To go to the next mode, you just click it once. Next mode, just keep doing the same thing, and it'll cycle from the 4 main modes. Each mode has a sub-mode, which is about half the output of the main mode. I think it goes 0.5 to 15 to 70 to 400 to 1000, something like that. But overall, it's a very easy to use UI. Big downside is it takes forever to turn off. It's actually slower than the Nitecore. You do have to hold it down for quite a while to get this thing to turn off. And I'll just do a quick comparison so you can see what I'm talking about. Both lights on, I'm going to push them at the exact same time. So there's a little bit of a delay there considering every other light will turn off with just 1 click. The only light that will turn off the quickest is the Armytek, but we'll talk about that more in just a second. Continuing on with this light, it has a magnetic tail cap out of the box, just like the Olight. A couple little gimmicks is in the lockout. What I really like is if you do hold it down to get it into lockout, it will immediately start with this, which is a nice pulsing red light, which you could just leave that to find your light at night. The only other light that has a mode similar to this is the Zebralight. If you don't want that LED on, you could just click it again and it turns off. Very nice way to lock out your light. Big fan of that. Next, we have the Zebralight H600, and first off, this light is very stunningly beautiful. I'm a big fan of the aesthetics of this light, and another thing I should mention, all the other lights, they did come in very nice boxes and packaging, but the Zebralight just came in an unmarked cardboard box with a little bit of foam to protect it. That's directly from Zebralight. It really seems like every penny you put towards this light goes to the actual flashlight itself. Some people like the accessories and stuff, but I'm okay without it. This light by far has the best UI and is why I think this is probably one of my favorite lights out of the bunch. How it works, you just do 1 click to turbo, and you could always 1 click off from any mode. And if you want to go to medium, you double click. And if you want to go to low from off, you just hold it down for more than 0.6 seconds. It's by far the easiest because there's no real mode memory in this light, even though it does remember which sub-mode you set it on. Just like the Skilhunt, each mode has a set of sub-modes designated to it. And then there's an even deeper layer of submodes accessed by 6 clicks or some weird Morse code combination. But there's a lot of options available for the brightness levels. I currently have it set up to my favorite levels. This light's incredibly fast to get to any mode, and it does have its blinky disco modes. I'm not a big fan of them, but it's the only light here that has a battery check accessed by 4 clicks. So 4 is, I believe, 4 volts, and 3 is 3.8 volts, and 2 is 3.6 or something like that. Not exactly sure with that, but that's the gist of it. Now let's spend a little bit talking about the speed of these lights, and by speed I mean how quickly you could get to the various modes. The quickest to turn on is the Zebralight, because by the time you click down, it will turn on. To get to turbo, you hold it down for more than half a second, but by the time the button is compressed, it turns on in the lowest output mode. And it's very quick to get there. The quickest to turbo is also the Zebralight, because it's just one solid click to get to its turbo mode. The quickest off is the Armytek Wizard, because it almost feels like it has a mechanical switch. They did a very good job with how quickly this light turns off. A lot of the other lights, for example, like the Olight and the Zebralight, when you turn them off, even though both these lights have one click to turn off, you'll notice both of them from the time I click down will have a slight delay. The Zebralight's a bit longer of a delay, but I'm overall not a fan. When I want my light off, I want it off immediately. I don't want to have to wait. Armytek is the quickest off. As I discussed first, both the Skilhunt and the Nitecore have to hold down the light to turn off. Huge strikes against both these lights. I'm not a fan. Some other sort of UI things. The quickest to a strobe is the Nitecore. You just double click to get to a strobe. The quickest to medium is also the Zebralight, and it's just 2 clicks to get to the medium. I do wish this was reversed. I wish it was 1 click to get to the medium and 2 clicks to get to turbo, just because it doesn't make sense that you have to cycle through high to get to the medium. But you can't really complain too much, because this is an excellent UI. I do very much like it, and I appreciate how much thought went into making it. The next best UI has to go to the Skilhunt. It's again very similar to the Zebralight. In fact, if it didn't have that press to hold down, I may very well be my favorite to get on, but it's a good close second place. So here are the lights lined up from my favorite to least favorite in terms of UI. This one has the quickest to all 3 modes, very easy to access, but the only thing I don't get is why they put the turbo faster to get to than the medium. I wish it was reversed. Overall, still good light. This one has a lot of mode preferences available. I do very much like the modifications you're about to make to it in terms of just switching between the 2 sub-modes. It makes it always seem like there's a brightness level that's perfect. This one is the fastest, snappiest, responsive light. Even though the Zebralight's quicker, this one just seems so plain and simple. It's just 1 sturdy click on and 1 sturdy click off. There's no bullshit in between that. The Olight has a nice, I'm really tied between these two. It has a nice UI. It's easy to understand and use, but it kind of has just a weird placement for their moonlight to low mode. I wish it was, you could just hold it down continuously and it was like 4 clicks to get into the turbo. This one, not my favorite UI. It's just a very strangely placed UI. I've accidentally blinded myself several times just by trying to get this into the 70 lumen mode. You just naturally double click and you'll end up strobing yourself. It's just a very, very poor placement for the strobe. Honestly, for headlights, I kind of wish none of these had strobes. Out of these lights, these are the only 3 that come with strobe. This is the brightest of the bunch at 2300 lumens. This is the dimmest of the bunch at 900 lumens. This is the most expensive light here. This is the least expensive light here. These lights have dual springs and will work with pretty much every battery you could put in there. These lights require protected cells just to cover the distance or some sort of creative way to get over that barrier. Now, let's talk a little bit about the head straps themselves. This is a super, super important part to me because the head straps is where these lights are going to spend most of their time, on your head. Let's go ahead and cover all the head straps. Here are the lights next to their head straps. I'll cover each individual head strap and each light that fits into it. First up, we have the Armytek. This one is probably the neatest sort of head strap thing apart from Olight, as this light just clips in. It's held in very sturdily by this sort of method, and it holds its shape very well. The strap itself is your typical three string sort of thing over your head. I have very curly hair, so I never really use these top strings. I always have them very loose. This light is extremely well fit to my head. It fits very well, it doesn't hurt. I've worn it for several hours while working. It doesn't really get in the way, and it feels very good. Next up is the Nitecore. We have the Nitecore one. These things, you just sort of fit it in elastic sort of hold. I'm not a big fan of these ones. The Nitecore head strap is not too great. It does have some grooves cut out in the light to hold it in, but as you see, it's pretty loose and it actually compresses your head a lot. It's a good light, it's a good headband, but it's not the best. Next up, we have the Olight, which is by far the coolest head strap. It has a magnetic holder in place as the light is held in by that. And that really helps if you're just trying to quickly illuminate something at night and you just need it for a second. And it also has this rubberized strap that goes over and securely locks the light in place. This is the tightest fit, and it actually does work with every light here. Overall, I'm a big fan of this head strap. It's very comfortable over your head. It is, however, very difficult to actually put together. They give you a very poorly drawn diagram to get this to piece together, and it just took a very long time. Next, we have the Zebralight with another one of those elastic bands. This one's a bit of a better fit, and if you actually notice, 2 of the actual fins on the Zebralight are designated to go over the bands, and it holds in there pretty nice. It's very similar to the Nitecore. It's nothing special, but it holds the light a little bit better. I had the Nitecore longer, so we'll see how this one does with time. I've only had this light for about 2 weeks, so we'll see if it can stand up to the test of time. And last, we have the Skilhunt, which is my least favorite head strap. It seems like it only has one spot designated for the head strap to go, and the second strap just kind of lays there. It bothers me a lot that that's true, but while it's in there, it's held pretty well. It also has this big gap that covers all your forehead. Like I said, I have curly hair, so I don't like using these top straps or tightening them down too much, but it fits pretty well. It's just not that great. Now let's spend some time talking about the actual optics and lenses. We have a TIR and an orange peel reflector in the H2R. We have a TIR optic in the Wizard. We have a smooth orange peel reflector, sort of hybrid thing, in the Zebralight, a smooth reflector in the Nitecore, and a TIR reflector inside the Skilhunt. So now all the lights here, I'm not really going to talk too much about the LEDs. This one has an XHP50, the other ones have UML2s or some other Crees. You can choose what LED you want. I'm mainly covering the user interface and actual build of the lights in this video because you could sort of decide what LEDs you want to put with it. I think it's important to note that you have no choice in these 2 lights. This is the only setup that they're available in. The Armytek, I know they have the Wizard, the Elf, they have tons of different variants of this light, including different batteries and such. The Zebralight, there's just like 100 different versions of the H600, including different LEDs and color tints. And the Skilhunt has a couple different reflectors out there and different sort of LEDs you could choose for it. But I think the only option you get on this light is the same as the Olight. You just get to choose cool or warm, and that's about it. So in terms of customer support and the website, there's no real website for Skilhunt. You can only get them from distributors that will sell them. The number one that people go to is GearBest, and I'm not a big fan of their shipping and customer support. They're based out of another country, so you can't really expect too much, but it's overall, if something did go wrong with this light, I think your only option is to ask for a replacement. They're not going to just send you replacement parts or have too much support available. Next, we have the Zebralight. I talked with Zebralight asking about which specific LED that I would want and what tint variant, but overall they got back to me very quickly. I just talked to them through email. I'm pretty sure they have a number you could call to. Again, they're all made in China, but they do have some pretty good service, and they were helping me out quite a bit. Like I said, this came shipped in a box with pretty much nothing in it, not even a pocket clip. So Nitecore, they have some pretty nice warranty on this. I think you get 2 or 5 year warranty for this, and most of these lights have a very long warranty because typically flashlights don't wear out. Why I really recommend you guys spend some money on a flashlight. It's a good investment. I think it's well worth your time and money. But Nitecore specifically, I've talked with them regarding a charger that I had that I just had some questions about the warranty service for them. They're very good. They're very easy to talk to. They're a very large company too. Their stuff is a bit expensive for what it is. I think this should be probably around the $30 range if it were up to me. But it's a great build quality, and just that warranty gives you that that sort of assurance that, oh, if I screw this up, at least you're going to have someone to talk to. Now, Armytek, I actually talked with them about a different light from them. I had a defect in their tail cap. They were very quick to respond to me, and they actually just sent out the tail cap. I should be receiving it in a couple days. I didn't have to do too much talking with them. They were very pleasant to talk to. They're based out of Canada. They were I was able to actually call their number 2 if I needed an immediate response. Overall, a good experience from Armytek. Olight also had an extremely good experience regarding this tail cap. Like I said, it's a fire hazard in the stock one, but all I did was just say, I have an H2R, please send me a better one. Just gave them my address, and I got it a couple days later in the mail, and just did the test, and it's perfectly safe. I could vouch by this light being a safe thing to keep in your pocket now. It still says do not short on the back, but I think that's just because it would, just liability reasons, just in case the diode does have a defect or something does go wrong with it. So that's generally the sum of it. Like I said before, I'm going to go and do an individual review for each and every one of these lights. This video is already starting to get pretty long, so I'm going to go ahead and just wrap it up. Let's go ahead and talk about which one I would say is the best out of the bunch. Well, there's a lot of things you have to consider, so there's no clear and obvious one winner, but let me put it this way. If I had to choose one light to use and cannot have any other one, I'd go with the Zebralight. The UI is just such a good design on this light. They did a really good job with placing everything. I really do believe this is the best light for the money, but do keep in mind that it's also quite possibly the most expensive light here if you choose a couple options on it. It easily climbs up to about $90 to $100 in price. Keeping price in mind, you really can't beat the Skilhunt. I mean, this thing is only about $30. It does take a long time to get to you, but if you could overlook that small fact, the UI on this is, again, very, very good. I do like the tint I chose, which was the neutral tint. It has a nice sort of warm, kind of not too warm sort of look. I'd say it's right around anywhere from 4,500 to 5,000 K. It's just overall a really nice little light. I do wish they fixed the hold down to turn off sort of thing. It's not really an error, it's just not a design that I really like using every day. If you're looking for something to sort of keep in your camping backpack or go use very often and just sort of not treat it very well, I'd probably go with the Armytek Wizard. All these lights are durable, but I mean, this one, they do have claims that say you could beat it up the most. They have a 10-year warranty with it. It's a great light. It works extremely well. I mean, don't get me wrong, the UI is good. It's just not it's not the brightest light. It's not really super throwy either. The only option you have for this light is to get it with the TIR optic sort of thing, and it makes it just only usable at a close range, which for some people you want to use it for other purposes as like a biking headlight. You want to try to get a different type of reflector, but if you're just looking to keep this on your head and do work that's close to you or just for camping purposes or hiking and stuff like that, I think this would do extremely well for that, just because it also has that sort of appeal to people doing that. Armytek lights are all branded to be extremely durable, all rugged. I mean, Army is in the name. They sort of are implying that this is going to be good for military use sort of thing. Obviously, no one here is going to be using it for that, but either way, it's an excellent flashlight. I briefly talked about the reflectors of these two, how I did choose to go for the smooth sort of, or in this case, orange peel reflector. In both these cases, on both these lights, you do actually get a nice little hot spot, as you can see here. They're not just a big sort of flood like the other lights. You do get a little hot spot. And I did that just to mix things up. Again, some people, it all depends on what you're trying to use. I bought this light, the Nitecore, specifically for biking, and it does extremely well with the hot spot. You do want on your head to have the exact place you're looking at illuminated as opposed to a sort of flood. So do keep that in mind if you're trying to use this for something like a biking purpose, or maybe to use this as a EDC light that you're going to use to shine something that's more than 30 yards away effectively. Go for a light with a reflector that's smooth, like these two lights here. Now, I do like the Olight a lot, but it's just at such a high price where I think there's a lot of better options out there. I know Armytek has the ELF or some other brand of their flashlight that does come with a magnetic tail cap, so if you're interested in that, the Armytek has it. For the price, Olight's does come with a battery, which none of these other lights do, or have the option to include a battery. It's just a nice little thing they include, but for about $80 to $90, you better expect to get a battery. So now with the Nitecore, it's a great light. It's extremely well. It's very similar to I think there's another light that I didn't have a part of this review, which is a WowTac or A-Tactical's A2, which is a very similar design to this. I haven't actually looked into that light because at the time of this review, I wasn't aware that that light existed. I'll probably do a follow-up review including that. But this light is sort of like the standard, just general, basic headlight. It doesn't really have any nonsense to it. No special features that are crazy or anything. It just works. It's a solid light. Seems very durable. Not my favorite light here. I do love it. I've used it so much. I always keep it in my helmet. Just whenever I go biking, I'll just grab it with me. Use it during the daytime too in the beacon mode just so you don't get hit by cars. It's a very bright, very nice, just all around good light. Do not do what I did and get the cool one. It's a very, very cool, almost bluish color. At the time, since this was like one of my first flashlights, I didn't know that I was not a fan of cool white until I used some of the other warmer lights. It does come in a neutral tint for the same price. It's harder to find the neutral tint on discount, but I say it's worth the extra money. So out of these lights, if I had to just choose one of them, I'd probably choose the Zebralight. It's just my favorite to use. They did such a good job on the design. It's just overall a really nice light. It's probably it's the light I'm gonna probably use the most. I expect a lot out of it. Only had it for a few weeks, and I expect it to last for a very long time. But in the past, Zebralight has been known to do that sort of thing. If I had to choose sort of second place, I would give it to the Skilhunt just because of its incredibly low price and its very well placed UI. A couple of little things I don't like about it, but again, they're just small details. There's nothing to get too worried about. It's a really, really great light, and if you do get it, make sure you get it in the neutral light. I'm a big fan of this tint. It's just a pleasant color to look at night. So choosing between these three, you can't really go wrong with any of them. That goes for any light here. They're all just, I chose specific lights that were highly recommended for this review, so all of them are great choices if you just want to just flip a coin 5 times and just see what you want. But the Wizard's probably my favorite out of these two. It's just, it seems like it has a really nice durable sort of feel to it. Now, out of these two lights, I'd definitely go with the Olight. The Olight is it's a great light. It's just expensive, but because it comes with that battery, I guess it's a price you're not going to have to pay for it, considering they charge almost $15 for the battery. Important note is if you do want to use the rechargeable tail cap, you have to use Olight specific battery. Let me go ahead and get that out so I can show you what I'm talking about. As you'll be able to see right on the top, you actually have both your positive in the middle and your negative on the outside here. It's so the actual charging circuit is just directly contacting these two leads here. What makes it special is there's probably just a metal strip running to the back of the negative all the way up to here. And how that goes in, it goes in backwards into the light, and then you see the inside of the charging and the actual charge leads. So if you're like me, you'll probably just end up using the stock batteries you get in other lights on the Olight and just ditch the charging circuit. For now, I've kept the stock battery in there because it came with it and it fits perfectly and it's super convenient. But if you do not have the improved diode included tail cap that prevents fires from starting, you might want to just tape up your battery so the charging is completely disabled, so there's no risk until you get your replacement. Last is the Nitecore. It's like I said, extremely good quality light. Just not my favorite out of the bunch, just because I think it's just average. Every other light has something a little bit more unique to it, can do something a little bit better. For your money, you're going to get every dollar's worth, and it's great. I've actually recommended this to a bunch of friends before I actually started experimenting with the other lights. Not one of them has complained. It's a great light. It works extremely well. Its run times are great, as of all the lights. They're just, you can't really go wrong with any of the lights, but it works well, and it's worth your money. So yeah, that pretty much sums it up for this review. All these lights are great. I mean, 18650 right angle headlights are the best. I'd probably charge these batteries once every 4 months because of all the lights I have. If you use it more often, it'll probably be like once every 2 weeks. They're super versatile. They do everything. They really just they go up for the task. And if you just choose which specific one you want for your specific needs, then you could get a light that's exactly tailored to you. That's perfect, and you'll probably keep for an extremely long time. I think it's well worth the money, and if you haven't invested in something like this yet, I'd say go out and do it. I'll leave links for all where I personally bought all these from. A couple of them were from eBay, a couple of them were directly from the sites that sell them. But if you're just looking for a flashlight that sort of is that one flashlight that you always have in your drawer that you just always keep charged just in case, I think a right angle 18650 headlight is the one to use just because it has so many different purposes. Power goes out, just keep it on your head at like a 70 lumen output. Some of these things run at 70 lumens for like 30 hours straight, and 70 lumens is way more than enough to illuminate a dark area. And at these turbos, they run for about 2,000, they run for about 2 hours at about 1,000, or in some cases, 2,300 lumens. They're all very similar in terms of output and runtime, so there's no real need to talk further about that. you could search all the specs for each of these lights individually, or you could watch my more in-depth review of each of these lights, which I'll try to do over the next coming weeks. But for that, that's pretty much it. Yeah, so that was just a touch of the surface for all these lights. I do think that 18650 right angle lights are the best, so if you have any other ones you want to talk about, just leave them in the comments. I'll give you my opinions on them. There's a couple other ones out there that I elected to not buy for the purpose of this review for one reason or another. And for all these lights, I do know that some of them, like especially these two here, the Armytek and the Zebralight, they do have better versions with more features and stuff. But in this review, I got the cheapest version of every one of these lights I could possibly find, and I was able to do all of the lights for under $70 shipped to my house. So that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and just let me know about what you think. I'll be sure to post more videos, and if you have any suggestions or any requests, just leave them there, and I'll get back to you guys. Thanks for watching.